check on car number DG2387, over.
Roger, stand by. Car registered to Philip Arthur Jackson, not currently wanted. Check on Jackson.
Proceed.
I was instantly awake. I was aware, wired up, exploding. A chaos of infinite fragments, a million pieces. I lay, motionless, lucid and perfectly still. Slowly the fragments came together. Bit by bit the chaos settled. Bit by bit I began to feel whole again. The explosion, only a dream, I told myself. I was intact now. Only a dream. All was quiet. I can remember that silence. The clock had stopped. 12:35 a.m. it read. I was to remember that time, but little else that fateful night, for soon I slipped back to sleep and into dream.
The truck is broken down on the inside lane heading northbound over the Harbour Bridge. So I suggest that if we're heading to the North Shore that the outside lanes should get a free run all the way to the North Shore. There you are in the sky. This is Peter Wilson for Radio 1.
It's 8 o'clock on Radio I. The temperature is 11 degrees in Auckland. The forecast for showers. Nigel Horrocks with Radio Eyewitness News Update. Police in Wanganui at this stage are working on the theory that this morning's blast at the Wanganui Computer Centre was an attempt to blow it up. A few minutes ago, we spoke to Wanganui Police Headquarters.
At 12:35 a.m. this morning, a young man carrying an explosive device was killed instantly when the device detonated itself outside Wairiri House. He approached the main entrance to the house, he stooped over and the device went off, and as a result he apparently was killed instantly.
He says the police believe at this stage that the man was acting alone. He has yet to be identified. The front door of the computer centre was damaged in the blast. Work inside went on uninterrupted. Investigations continue. We'll be updating that story during the morning.
The clock. I remembered the clock, the time, 12:35 a.m. Explosion, death, Wanganui. A bomb outside the computer centre, that ominous machine, the state home of files, of personal information on all citizens. Information obtainable at any hour. That same time, miles away, I awake instantly. An explosion, a dream, a shattering set of coincidences. Did I awake at that exact moment, at that very instant? Such questions plagued me. And so began the never-ending stream of resemblances, the never-ending stream of signs, of parallels. In the never-ending stream I drifted. I was caught. I was trapped. There was no way out. others stood, not one of them. Just a misguided punk-faced head. Couldn't even blow up the computer centre.
I know it's a case of inexperience. How far are these people prepared to go?
The media fed it to them.
It's 5 o'clock on Radio I. The temperature is 15 degrees and the weather cloudy. Mark Everton updating the Radio Eyewitness News. Wanganui police have named the Wanganui Computer Centre bomber as 21-year-old Neil Ian Roberts. Nigel Horrocks has details.
The police say 21-year-old Neil Ian Roberts had been living in Stratford for the past few months. He was originally from Auckland. Confirmation of his identity came after a Wellington fingerprint expert was called in. Rob Butler, who's heading the police inquiry into the bombing, says he's convinced that Roberts acted alone. He described Roberts as a punk rocker and a self-declared anarchist.
News on the hour, every hour. The media moved fast. Reporters lurked outside his family's home. Ministers of state and chiefs of police had their say. Those with punk style or those supposed anarchists, all had been hunted out. It was in the afternoon paper that I discovered Brian. I contacted him by telephone, and we arranged to meet later in a pub.
This anarchist conspiracy we've made him like. So you knew it would be like this, you know, all over the papers. I can tell you a lot of what they're saying is crap. He wasn't stoned or anything, and even if he had been, it wouldn't have made any difference. He sent this up to me when he came out for my party. See that? Getting old is nothing to celebrate. If you want to find out more about him, go down to Taranaki and see Carol.
Brian's voice rang clear. It was too much to understand. His death, his ritual, too symbolic, too calculated, too much without remorse and without regret. It was too much for them. Yet the news machine ground on, with more comment, more quotes, more headlines, more words, 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 words. Trapped. There was no way out. The questions continued to plague me. The never-ending stream of signs, the never-ending stream of déjà vu, the never-ending stream of coincidences, of parallels. I could only go on. questions continued. There was no way out. As I drove to see Carol, I was still caught by the never-ending stream of signs and parallels. I had left all photographs, all newspapers, all the print behind. But no doubt the news machine would still grind on relentless, with more words, more comment, more of it all. When I met Carol, she had had enough too. How abstract it had all become, she said. Strange, Neil dead and it all over the newspapers, headlines on TV and on radio. She said it was like they were talking about somebody completely different, somebody else, almost as if it was their own invention.
He phoned that day to tell me that he was going to Wanganui to do it that night. I had no doubt that he would, because he'd often talked about it, so we're all quite well prepared for it. I got a letter yesterday that he wrote to me from Wanganui just before he did it. He said he was content. The last thing he wanted for us was to be sad, but I guess things are never quite that easy. I've been thinking about things quite a lot, about our old friends and just everything that happened, about his mum and dad. I don't know,
In the chill melancholy of that country afternoon, we knew that it was already myth. By exploding to his certain end, his chosen death, he had fired a wave of shock and a wake of reaction. Play it down was a command. Keep it low-key was an order. The statements and the explanations followed. A sad victim, a misguided youth. He couldn't keep pace with the changes in modern society, declared a chief of police. Through a sad weakness, he was led to join a sect like the punk rockers we heard. I wondered if they didn't somehow believe it.
What would you like? Ketchup, thanks. Ketchup, thank you. What are you? What? Good, what are you?
Did they believe it? Who believed it? Did people believe the Minister of State who said he didn't even mean to die? Who believed it?
I certainly do remember. It's a night I won't forget, the way he paid for his ticket, the way he was dressed. There's something about him. I'd call it a sixth sense, but something was going to happen. I saw fire. All I could think about was fire. Roberts came into the office at 9:35. I remember the time because the film had long commenced. It was more than halfway through. And though I explained this to him, he still insisted on an admission ticket for showing a film called Missing. He said he read the book, so he knew what happened. He just had to fill in time. He was carrying a bright red pack. When I asked him to leave it in the office till after the movie, he put both arms round it, clutched it to him, said he preferred to keep it with him. You don't get many looking like him. Never forget the way he was dressed. I walked behind him up the stairs. He had a safety pin that held the crutch of his jeans. All I could think of was fire. I told the usherette to make sure he left the cinema. He was a little disturbed about it. Came out with everyone else. He turned up the passage that runs up the side of the cinema towards the computer center. When I heard about the explosion, I knew immediately it was him. There was something about it.
When he walked up that passage, up the side of the embassy cinema, he walked towards his death. His last letter showed that he carried little remorse. quite prepared for tonight, times nervous or sad, but mostly content at bed. He knew he'd soon be headlines, back a shocking image on our TV screens. But when he wrote his final message, "We have maintained a silence closely resembling stupidity," how could he have known how blurred, how confused would become this image, how so fractured, how conflicting, how... The questions continued, the never-ending stream of them. I drove into that night. By Saturday morning, it was no longer front-page news. Barely 2 days later, and it was all over. Covered, finished, judged and concluded. It was all over. All was quiet. A silence held by a silence.